Hello and welcome everyone to the daily news analysis of 18th of October 2023। तो चलिए आज के इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल जो है वन बाय वन देख लेते हैं हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर से। पहला जो है कैन नॉट लीगलाइज सेम सेक्स मैरिज से सुप्रीम कोर्ट बेंच। देन डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री आस्क इट्स डिपार्टमेंट टू सेट अप सेल्फी पॉइंट टू शोकेस द गुड वर्क। Then centralized procurement is a powerful health idea. The next है how synergetic barriers are affecting progress on SDGs. Next है strengthened human rated rocket is ready for Gaganyaan. Then next है Modi directs ISRO to land man on moon by 2040. Work towards interplanetary mission. US safe US China safe as India कर्व्स ऑन लैपटॉप एंड पीसी इंपोर्ट से। चाइना थोड़ा मिस हो गया, ये चाइना होगा यहाँ पर, चाइना। देन मोदी अनवेल्स लॉन्ग टर्म ब्लूप्रिंट फॉर इंडियाज मैरीटाइम इकोनॉमी। तो चलिए वन बाय वन देख लेते हैं। आज इतना ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल है नहीं हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर से, तो ये 8 ही आर्टिकल है। चलिए देखते हैं वन बाय वन। पहला जो है कैन नॉट लीगलाइज सेम सेक्स मैरिज सेज सुप्रीम कोर्ट बेंच। A constitution bench of Supreme Court on Tuesday held that only the legislature can recognize or regulate same-sex marriage. The bench reasoned that since there was no fundamental or unqualified right to marry, the court cannot intervene. However, the bench failed to reach a consensus on providing even long-abiding relationship between the same-sex marriage couple with the status of a legally recognized civil union. This was despite all 5 judges on the bench unanimously accepting that it was time to end discrimination against the same-sex couples. Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud, who became a minority on the bench with Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, declared that queer people had a fundamental right to form relationship and the state was obligated to recognize and grant legal status to such unions so that same-sex couples could avail themselves of the marital benefits provided by the law. Justice S.R. Bhatt and Hima Kohli, in their opinion backed by a separate one by Justice P.S. Narasimha to form the majority judgment, held that an entitlement to legal recognition of the right to uniform akin to marriage or civil union or conferring legal status upon the parties to the relationship can be only enacted law. The bench refused to tinker with the Special Marriage Act. Chief Justice Chandrachud said it was within the legislative domain to read the 1954 Act of its institutional limitations. Justice Bhatt found the petitioner plea to read various provisions of the Act in a gender-neutral manner for the enabling same-sex marriage unsustainable. The majority view held that the court judgment decriminalizing homosexuality in 2018 did not extend to legal recognition of the queer union. In his minority opinion, the Chief Justice held that the right to form a union was a feature of the fundamental right to choose partner and lead a dignified, meaningful life. Equality cannot be denied to same-sex couple on the basis of their sexual orientation, he said, emphasizing that queer persons have a right to form abiding relationship. He held that queerness was a natural phenomenon, neither urban or nor elite, adding that the conception of marriage was neither universal nor static. It is insufficient if persons have the ability and freedom to form relationship unregulated by the state. For the full enjoyment of such relationship, it is necessary that the state accord recognition to such relationships. Chief Justice Chandrachud said. Justice Kaul agreed that legal recognition to the same-sex relationship was a step forward towards marriage equality. He noted legal recognition adds social acceptance, which in turn increases queer participation in public spaces. He said the next step in due course would be to create a regulatory framework or a device of governance to give meaningful realization to the right to enter into a union, whether termed as marriage or a union. Both judges urged the center to constitute a high-powered committee to set out the scope of benefits available to such unions. The majority of judges on the bench, however, held a different view. Previous judgment of this court have established that queer and LGBTQ plus couples to have the right to union or relationship between be it mental, emotional or sexual, flowing from the right to privacy, right to choice and autonomy. This, however, does not extend to a right to claim entitlement to any legal status for the union or relationship. A sequitur of this is that the court cannot enjoy or direct the creation of such regulatory framework resulting in legal status, Justice Bhatt said. The next, Defense Ministry asked its department to set up selfie point to showcase the good work. The Ministry of Defense has directed its department to set up geo-tagged selfie point to showcase good works done in the defense sector. The guidelines issued on October 6 suggest the creation of at least 822 selfie points that may feature a photograph of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Each of these points must enable people to get the feeling of being a part of the initiative. The guidelines states the Ministry of Defense has undertaken a series of reforms in the last 9 years and significantly contributed to bolstering the security and economy of the country as per the directions received during a review meeting chaired by the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh on September 14. Selfie points are to be established at prominent local locations by department and organization of the ministry service, defense, public sector undertakings, border roads organizations, Indian Coast Guard, Defense Research and Development Organization, and Sainik Schools, National Cadet Corps, etc. on the theme of their respective achievements on the October 6 letter said. The ministry has listed several themes for the selfie points. The TPSUs and the three services will set up the points under the theme Atmanirbhar Bharat, Self-Reliant India. The three services will also have सशक्तिकरण empowerment सशक्तिकरण sorry and Nari Shakti Women Empowerment. The theme of DRDO and Department of Defense Production will have research and development and innovations while cantonment boards will have the theme of ease of living of residents. Some of the suggested locations include War Memorial, Defense Museum, railway and metro stations, bus stations, airports, malls, schools, colleges, tourist destination and festival gatherings. The ministry has also suggested the departments to set up a feedback mechanism through dedicated apps and social media handles with a catchy ID and emails, all of which people can use to send selfies using army for polls. The decision has invited sharp criticism from Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, who accused the government of trying to use the army's popularity for election with selfie points across the country, where its schemes will be promoted by politically using the army for elections. The Modi government has done something which has never happened in the last 75 years, Mr. Kharge said in a post on X. In these tableaux, instead of the story of the bravery of soldiers, there is an ideal-like image of Mr. Modi and praises of his schemes, Mr. Kharge said. The next, a conceptual video of a watchtower watchtower piques interest in Bengaluru. The interest of Bengalurians was picked by Deputy Chief Minister and Development Minister D.K. Shivkumar on Tuesday after he posted on social media a conceptual video of an observation deck proposed in the city. In association with World Design Organization and an Australian company COOP, HIMMELBLAU submitted the conceptual presentation to the minister on Monday to of the watchtower, which if implemented would be one of the tallest in the country. Mr. Shivkumar mentioned on X that he had directed the officials concerned to assess the project's financial viability and identity a land parcel of 8 to 10 acres for it. According to sources, the areas surrounding Kantir, Kantirava Stadium, Bidhana Sauda and Racecourse Road, essentially the city's center, are being considered. The idea of a sky deck is an extension of brand Bengaluru with an aim to provide a view of the entire city along with recreational facilities like restaurants. The vibrant Bengaluru report, which was submitted by a 10-member committee in September, had pitched the idea of a landmark watchtower along the lines of Eiffel Tower in Paris and the Statue of Liberty in New York. Skydeck, the proposal submitted, Mr. Shivkumar stated the system of the structure is inspired by the intricate algorithm governing the natural growth of the majestic banyan trees falling branches. The proposed tower will have a sky deck, roller coaster station, restaurants, and an exhibition center among other amenities. Many on social media showed their excitement and called it a beautiful and futuristic concept. Then next is centralized procurement as a powerful health idea. Imagine that you have decided to go up against the McDonald's in India. The homegrown Vada Pav will go up against the mighty burger and come out to trumps. And so you build a plan to have hundreds, nay, thousands of franchises all over the country. They will sell clean, hygienic, and tasty Vada Pavs in the millions in the years to come. What a great idea, and let us hope that somebody actually does this. But here is a quick question: should each franchises purchase their own potatoes, or would you much rather have a centralized procurement team to do the task? You will quickly realize that there are two central problems to solve: price and quality. Each franchise conducting negotiations with potato sellers become a problem when it comes to price. The amount of potatoes that the entire business needs to purchase will be more than the amount of potatoes that each franchises will need to buy. So, who do you think will be able to negotiate a better price? The centralized team or each of the individual franchises? Each franchise is conducting negotiations with the potato seller is also problematic. When it comes to quality, each franchise might have a different idea of what is acceptable quality, and each franchise might have a different idea about what makes for a good potato. But that would then lead to each franchise's vada paos have a different taste, and that just will not do in a franchise model. This brings up another question: so why should hospitals be any different when it comes to drug procurement? In India, many countries and international organizations, including McDonald's, have shown that a pooled buyer model for drug procurement addresses many issues that are related to price efficiency, stock outs, and quality concerns. But for reasons that have remained mysterious for decades, the central government chooses to ignore the merits of a pooled procurement when it comes to schemes such as central government's health schemes CGHS, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana PMJAY, and employees state insurance schemes ESI. Corporate hospital chains, on the other hand, are well aware of the benefit of pooled procurement for years on end. They have conducted direct negotiations with the pharmaceutical companies and availed of significant discounts. Patients at these hospitals end up buying these drugs at maximum retail price, of course, but that is another story. We cannot help but wonder why many more hospitals cannot team up to form buyers clubs to benefit from better bargaining power, and then being not for profit institution pass on these cost saving to patients. The focus in these papers, a recent paper, a national cancer grade pooled procurement initiative India demonstrates the viability of such an idea. Group negotiations, uniform contracts, and finally purchases by hospitals associated with the national cancer grade for 40 drugs resulted in savings of 13.2 billion rupees Without pooled procurement, the cost would have been 15.6 billion rupees, with savings ranging from between 23% to 99%, as the author say with quite understatement in the last sentence of their abstract. Their study reveals the advantages of group negotiations in pooled procurement for high value medicines. This approach, they conclude, can be applied to other health systems besides cancer. We are in complete agreement. Our paper on unifying India's healthcare markets makes just such an argument. We show that the central government is not consistent in how it covers different categories of beneficiaries under the CGHS, ESI, and PMJAY. The same procedure, for example, might be available in one scheme but not the other, and centralized procurement sadly is not yet a reality. It is not that the central government is unaware of the benefit of pooled procurement and price discovery. When the government, through the National AIDS Control Organization, procures male contraceptives, it invites tenders from private manufacturers and then offers to buy from all those who are willing to match the lowest price. How does the government ensure that the suppliers are not colluding to keep the price high? HLL Lifecare Ltd, a public sector unit PSU with the highest manufacturing capacity in India, provides a benchmark price. All the bidders know that if they are not competitive on the price, the government will just procure all its requirements from the HLL and they will be left with unused manufacturing capacity, and as a result face huge fixed cost and overheads. The government can follow this model for most of the drugs it procures. It has many pharma PSUs that can provide benchmark prices and also ensure that the government has a leverage. Such leverage ensures that the government is not forced to buy from the private manufacturer, given that there is competition from PSUs which can make supplies at a competitive price. The issue of better quality. Finally, in addition to cost saving, buyers clubs can ensure better quality by having the supplies tested independently rather than having to rely on drug regulator to ensure quality. This is not a new idea. This is a standard operating procedure for buyers in many developed nations. Centralized procurement or pooled procurement is a simple yet powerful idea that has the power and the potential to reduce cost, ensure better deployment of funds in other areas related to healthcare, and ensure availability of life-saving drugs in this country. It is an idea with both theoretical backing and now empirical validation. It is an idea that India should implement at scales and as soon as possible. The next, how synergetic barriers are affecting progress on SDG. Lamenting the lack of progress on various sustainable development goals, world leaders at the SDG summit in New York on September 18 and 19 once again reaffirmed their shared commitment to eradicate poverty and hunger. They recognized that the world has on track to meet only 15% of its 169 targets that make up 17 goals, and have committed to an SDGs stimulus of $500 billion annually. While this political declaration needs to be welcomed as a renewed commitment to Agenda 2030, there is little to inspire confidence that there will be a greater progress. A 2023 report of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development estimated the investment gap in SDGs in developing countries to be greater than $4 trillion. Of this, nearly 2 trillion dollar needs to be directed towards energy transition alone. These staggering figures, representing the estimated sum of investment required by the specialized agency responsible for tracking each SDG, seems unachievable. Lack of synergetic actions. A fundamental statement in the Agenda 2030 document detailing the SDGs recognizes the indivisible and integrated nature of the 17 SDGs and their contribution to the three pillars of sustainable development. A lot of academic Literature have also focused on the synergic and trade-offs that exist in the pursuit of specific SDGs. One such paper published in the journal Proceeding of National Academy of Sciences on October 30, 2019 identified five types of synergies that can be estimated along the value chain of an SDG intervention. Those arising from resource allocation, creation of enabling environments, co-benefits, cost effectiveness, and saturation limits. A recently launched United Nations expert groups report entitled Synergic Solution for a World in Crisis Tackling Climate and SDG Actions Together also laments the lack of synergetic actions in the face of significant model evidence. Barrier for small scale applications. This said, policymaking processes are generally robust with a clear view on synergetic outcomes, especially when multi-stakeholder approaches to policymaking are practiced. For example, in India, the push for renewable energy started with both energy security and air pollution in focus and received an impetus with climate commitments. However, it has not been able to leverage the health benefits arising from lower air pollution to strengthen arguments for greater initiatives for renewables. At the same time, the ambitious renewable energy targets themselves become a barrier for small scale application due to a misalignment of deliverable. While the energy department had targets in gigawatts, primary health centers had needs in kilowatt, leading to their neglect in energization, even though the health outcomes would have been significant. Therefore, simply recognizing interlinks without a robust analysis and understanding of institutional barriers won't yield the outcomes India desires. As such, there is merit in both accessing as well as addressing barrier identified in the United Nations report in our national context. This in turn should prompt the country to strengthen the environment for synergetic action and make transparent both the opportunities and limit to synergies arising from SDG interventions. Every new investment we initiate today leading to a high carbon outcome will likely result in higher synergies or trade-off in our ability or to achieve our energy and climate goals. Establishing the domestic energy resources we have for regions for of enhancing resilience to shocks is a worthwhile goal, but exploiting those resources without a full cost estimation, including weighing India's own vulnerability to climate change impacts of alternative pathways with their synergetic opportunities, is detrimental to both national and global efforts. On the other hand, investing in clean energy options could have a significant synergetic impact on air pollution and human health, increasing the attractiveness of such interventions. The next year, Modi directs ISRO to land man on moon by 2040, work towards interplanetary missions. Signaling a roadmap for India's future space ambitions, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has directed the Indian Space Research Organization (ISRO) to set up an Indian crafted indigenous space stations by 2035 and land an Indian on the moon by 2040. This followed a review of preparation for the Gaganyaan mission, India's first manned mission to space, scheduled for 2025 on Tuesday. Building on the success of the Indian space initiatives, including the recent Chandrayaan 3 and Aditya L1 mission, the Prime Minister said that India should now aim for new and ambitious goals, including setting up a भारतीय अंतरिक्ष स्टेशन Indian Space Station by 2035 and sending the first Indian to the moon by 2040, said a statement from the Prime Minister's office. Mr. Modi called upon scientists to work towards interplanetary missions, including a space vehicle to orbit Venus and one that will land on Mars. Mr. Modi chaired the meeting to assess the progress of Gaganyaan mission and outline the future of Indian space exploration. The Department of Space, under which the ISRO functions, presented the state of preparedness and technologies developed for Gaganyaan. A critical test of a module called the Crew Escape Module System Test Vehicle is scheduled for Saturday. Thus, ISRO is a The ISRO, in a separate statement, said the TVD-1 test flight was scheduled between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. on October 21. It would be a short duration mission and visibility from the launch view gallery. The Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota would be limited. Students and the public could witness the launch free from the gallery by registering on https double slash ivg.shar.gov.in slash vscreg VSCR registration slash. The DOS will make a roadmap for moon exploration which will consist of a series of Chandrayaan missions, developing a new generation launch vehicle, constructing a new launch pad, setting up human-centric laboratories and associated technologies. The PMO statement said the International Space Station developed and maintained by the US, Russia, Canada, Japan and European agencies is the largest space station, but it is expected to be decommissioned in by 2030. Experts have said a manned missions to the moon and space station will require large sustained investments and significant contribution from the private sector, while space stations and moon missions of the US and Russia were a product of military space races. Future space stations will need to follow a different template, template and export connected to ISRO told the Hindu on conditions of anonymity. Then US China safe is at India's curve on laptop PC imports. The US, China, South Korea, and Chinese Taipei have raised concern on India's decision to impose import restriction on laptops and computers. In a meeting of the World Trade Organization, an official said the concern was flagged in the meeting of the WTO's Committee on Market Access on Monday in Geneva. The US said that the decision will have an impact on trade of these products, including US's export to India. When implemented, the Geneva-based official said on August 3, India imposed the import restriction on a host of IT hardware products such as laptop, personal computer, tablets, and larger mainframe computers with a view to spur domestic manufacturing and cut imports from countries like China. The regime would take effect November 1. However, com- however, Commerce Secretary Sunil Bhartwal last week said India would not impose licensing requirements but would only monitor imports. South Korea has stressed that the proposed measures by India seem inconsistent with WTO rules. Seoul requested India to reconsider the measures and to provide detailed clarification on this issue. देन आज का जो लास्ट आर्टिकल है, मोदी अनवेल्स लॉन्ग टर्म ब्लूप्रिंट फॉर इंडियाज मैरीटाइम इकोनॉमी. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday unveiled the Amrit Kal Vision 2047, a long-term blueprint for India maritime blueprint file inaugurating Global Maritime India Summit 2023 in Mumbai through a video conference. The blueprint outlines a strategic initiative aimed at enhancing port facilities, prompting sustainable practices, and facilitating global collaborations. Underscoring the role of sea route in global trade, he emphasized the need for a reliable global supply chain in the post-corona world. Mr. Modi reiterated that investors have a great opportunity to become part of this campaign. In the last decade, the capacity of the major port in India has doubled and turnaround time for big vessels has come down to less than 24 hours compared with 42 hours. Mr. Modi laid the foundation stone for project worth more than 23,000 crore rupees that align with the India's maritime blue economy. So friend, this is all for today. We will meet from tomorrow onwards with new news articles from the Hindu newspaper. So thanks you all and thanks a lot. Have a good day.